Welcome to my new series, Top 5 List. The point is to help you figure out which ships are great for what you want to do in the game. We'll mostly talk about ships that are currently in the game. If we do talk about ships that are still in concept, just be aware it's theory crafting. And remember, digital ships aren't imaginary. Digital ships are imagine-necessary. Every month we do a giveaway. This month's giveaway prize will be a Hull A. To enter, subscribe to the channel, like or dislike a video, and leave a comment on a video from this month. For the full giveaway details, make sure you visit our Billionaire Ninjas Discord or our social media at Ninjas Leap. Today our focus is to the top 5 ships in the game to use as a capital ship. This is our big one. Anytime you do a list like this though, there will surely be people who disagree or have a different list. So make sure you leave your top 5 list in the comments below so people can see what your list looks like, because that is why we do things like this. Not to be the definitive voice on the issue, but to start a conversation. We won't fully review these ships, just a few notes about why we like them. You'll have to check out our Review Every Ship by CitizenCon 2024 playlist if you want a more in-depth look at these ships. Also, this list is as of 3.22.1. I'll try to do a new one for each patch if the list changes. So, this one is really going to be based on the overall ability of the ship to be a flagship capital. The ship where you keep your most precious goods when they are not on a planetary base or in a space station. The ship that is the headquarters for your fleet and your organization. The ship that all other ships on your team must protect at all costs, or at least the one that needs to survive the most. For our list, it is not a requirement that the ship is listed as a capital, just that it has capital components. This list also does not include industry and fleet support specific capitals, because there is only one of each as of 3.22.1. So there isn't much of a list to make there. Go check out our top 5 industry ship list and our top 5 fleet support ships. All right, let's get to it. Let's get started with our number 5, the AIS Javelin. The biggest ship you can purchase in game at a whopping $3,000. This thing has just about everything you can fit on a ship. You would be hard pressed to find something this ship doesn't have. It's got multiple hangars, multiple cargo bays, a full medical facility, has at least 25 guns, in addition to size 9 torpedoes, a ton of size 4 missiles, and so many other things. You can spend 3 hours talking about everything this ship has. So why is it number 5 and not number 1? Because you could also spend 3 kidneys trying to purchase this ship at an eye-watering $3,000. And I just can't justify that amount on one ship when there are so many other great ships on the list you could purchase 2 or more of and still get a lot of use out of. And I would say if you have the money, you probably should pick the other ones and get multiples of those. Unless, and this is a very specific unless, you have a massive org with constant players, where 100 players are constantly online. Then I could say this ship is the best ship in the game for you, but only in that specific case. After the Javelin, we move on to number 4, the Polaris. So, if you know me, then you know I hold this ship in high regard, but it's a ship I only recently came to hold in the highest regard. It has smaller size 3 missiles to scare away fighters. Oh, I forgot to mention it's $750. It has gigantic size 10 torpedoes to take out capital ships from long distance in one shot. It has a bunch of turrets to handle the medium fighters, heavy fighters, and large ships, not to mention an automated turret for the things we don't see. It's got capital shields on top of all that. I can't wait to shoot ships that don't even know I exist, and as soon as they do, they're dead. I also can't wait to park an F8 and an Archimedes together in that hangar, because those 2 ships fit, and combined will put any fighter in the dirt. However, it's not quite as large as some of the other entries and doesn't provide as much multi-role capability and defense, so it lost a few spots as much as I appreciate it. On to the next one, number 3. The AIS Idris K and M at 1800 and 1500 respectively. Okay, if you have been following my channel for a while, then this one might surprise you, because you might have thought this would be my number 1. However, the price and the lack of availability of the M model, which to me is the best version, is kind of what puts it where it is. But number 3 isn't anything to shake a stick at. But let's talk about why this might be the best ship in the game, let alone one of the best capitals. First, it has just about everything that a Javelin has, but in lesser numbers and a smaller package. which is more than what most people need. Unless you have a gigantic org, you mostly will not need all of the things that a Javelin offers. And even if you do have a gigantic org, you still might not need all of those things. So the Javelin to me is the sweet spot for as large as the ship should be. But it has a brig, a medical facility, a shooting range, a briefing room, more than 800 SCU on top of that. Oh, and it's the only ship with a size 10 gun mounted on the front, whether that be a laser beam on the K or a mass driver cannon on the M. And if that wasn't enough, this thing might be the most heavily armored ship in the entire game, along with capital shields on top of that armor. It's the only ship on the list that doesn't really need an escort. It stores them on board. Moving on. Yeah, this one might throw you off a little bit, but for number 2, we have the Banu Merchantman at 650. I mean, I have said so much about the Banu Merchantman, but yes, this is a capital ship, and I do think it's going to be one of the better capital ships in the game, if not the best, depending on what your needs are. The ship is, yes, it's a market first, but it's also a home ship. It can be a command and control ship. It can be a lot of different things. It carries 2,880 SCU of cargo, and it costs $650. There are people who got this ship for $250. Remember that. On top of that, it has the single best weapon loadout of any ship in the game that is not a dedicated combat ship. It has a medical station and both a dedicated hangar for a light fighter and a dedicated vehicle bay. It has a fully fledged gantry crane inside of it to move cargo around along with tractor beams. The ship has 8 markets to sell everything to everyone, so it will be a massive money-making ship. It also has a ton of guns on it, so it can hang with the military ships on this list, like the Idris and Polaris. Although it's not quite there, it has a lot of that stuff on top of everything else it has. And if that wasn't enough, the ship, like I said, was sold at $250, making it the single cheapest capital ship that has ever been sold in the game. And if you were smart enough to invest in it back then, you have a capital ship, an in-game ship for $250, probably less if you played the CCU game and got it. So yeah, it's really, really amazing as a ship. It's gonna need, it could be your flagship. It could be the primary ship in your fleet, and everything else kind of rotates around it. It's not the biggest ship, but again, doesn't necessarily have to be the biggest ship, because you can crew this thing with 8 people, and 8 people can crew it effectively. And not to mention, it has, because it's built for so many people to come on board, it has all of that extra oxygen, so people can stay on board even if they don't have a place to sleep. So it's really awesome in that way, where you can have meetings and you can just do so much on this ship. And it has a little tinge of luxury on top of all of that, where I think the 890 jump might get a little jealous. The multi-role ability of this ship is just insane. A command and control ship, a market ship, a cargo ship, or even just a place for your crew to fly and restock. If you have the money, pick up a merchantman before the price goes up again. It's $650 now. It's the cheapest ship on this list. It probably will not be for very long, especially when it releases. Before we go on to my number 1 though, you know what I have to do. I have to bring up my honorable mention, the Kraken Privateer. I mean, what can I say about the Kraken Privateer? It's a weird one, but I think it's worthy of an honorable mention, and I'm happy to mention it near the Merchantman because I can see why they both exist. The Kraken Privateer is a Kraken, but more of a mobile space station. The Merchantman is a mobile market. The Privateer loses some of the things that make the Kraken great, like the extra fuel to restock ships, but it does make up for that with the 10 stores and shielded cargo spaces. And it has, the 2 private stores. So I don't know how that will actually work, but that seems like it'll be a really unique thing. And I like that it does all that without losing any of its guns or fighting capability. The only reason this one isn't on the list proper is its price. And even more so, the existence of the Merchantman, which is the 1/3 of the price, and the existence of our number 1. Speaking of which, yep, you got it. It's the Kraken. At $1,400. in comparison to the $2,000 that the Kraken Privateer costs. As a person who doesn't particularly like Drake's aesthetics, you might think this was a difficult choice. However, it wasn't. It's not the most heavily gunned. That's either the Idris or the Polaris. It doesn't have the most money-making potential. That's either the Privateer or the Merchantman. It also doesn't have the best armor. That would be the Idris M, Idris K. So why is it number one? The main reason? It's multi-role use. The Kraken can be whatever you want it to be based on what ships you land on it. I know its primary reason of existing is to repair, refuel, and rearm, which is already exactly what I think most people should be looking for in a flagship anyway, but it also could be a base for any type of operation, a hospital, a cargo ship, so much more. With 6 landing pads, 2 hangars, Dragonfly bays, it's our dedicated carrier. There's a reason why these are so useful for the Navy in real life. They are only limited by your imagination and the ships that can dock to it, or the ships available in the game, really. I can't imagine a single group of players that can't find a use for the Kraken, but you will indeed need a group of 10 to run it. So the Javelin can do some of this stuff, but it's twice the price and 5 times the crew, if not more. The Privateer loses the ability to refuel all those ships from fuel stores and most of the open cargo space for restocking everything else. The Idris is better protected but has less utility because you can't fit as many ships on it and it carries much less cargo. On the other side, the Polaris is an offensive beast, but again, much less cargo. The only one that gives it a hard time is the Merchantman, but they have different use cases. I went with this because it can do just about everything the Merchantman can, except it doesn't have the shops, but that's just a Privateer upgrade kit away. So again, the Kraken is the best capital ship in the game, and when it releases, it might just top our best ship in the game list altogether. We'll just have to wait and see. So there you have it, our top 5 capital ships to purchase as of 3.22.1. Let us know your top 5 in the comments, and stay tuned for more top 5s and more tier lists. We suggest renting ships and trying them out for yourself before you decide, of course, unless it's a concept ship. But it's your money after all. No matter what ship you get, I want to be clear though, no ship will be a perfect ship. You'll always have to get the right ship for the right job, and everything will be pushed to be balanced. So it's more important to pick a ship that you like, you don't mind flying, and can have the most fun with. If you don't like the gameplay of the ship, you won't have any fun, and that's the true point of the game, right? All right. That's it for this one. Thanks for spending your time with us. I'll see you in the next one. Peace.